Welcome back to the Money Pot, guys. Can you dig it? Today we've got a special DIY because my Excalibur's playing up. So today I'm going to show you how to pull the Excalibur apart, and scary stuff. There's a bloke down the road that does all these things, but I'm going to attempt this today on camera. You can have an inside view of the Excalibur too, an inside view. So stick around, guys, let's have a look. Well, here we are, guys, the setup. Here's the Excalibur 2, and the problem that I'm having at the moment, and most will discover it, is just here, it's starting to short out on the coil side. So unfortunately, these Excaliburs are known for having a pretty cheap sort of wiring system here, and well, after 2 years of that flapping around on your side, the wires inside there have broken. Now, I've also known another guy to buy one, and someone had left it in the sun. He brought it second hand, it was near brand new, and the person must have left it in the car or something, but all the wires inside here were cracked, as if it had been inside a car at 70 degrees or something, 100 degrees, and she's cooled down to 10 degrees again, and all the wires inside there crack. Now, the scary thing about this is, once you pull these caps off and pull it out, you have to drill through these end pieces. So you're going to need araldite, some sort of epoxy, to refill that again. Now, to cut this first wire, I have an electrical connector. So that's the scary bit going there. If I cut a wire, I can just put it back into that. So that's easy. Now, stepping it forward a bit, I've taken the little grub screws out already, just to speed things up. Now, these caps here, sometimes you might have to put a bit of a blade underneath just to pop them off. And they're off. And then 4 grub screws. One up the top, one down the bottom, same over here. Then this pulls out here, if you're lucky. If they don't just pull out, it's because they've had a little bit of araldite stuck in them, and you'll need 2 blades. And you'll put one blade on one side, where are we? In there like that, and one underneath, and as you cut round it, you can also leverage so that it gets some leverage and it pops out. Let's not pop that one out just at this moment, because you've got to start from this end here. Now, inside there, that little white connector there has just come off the circuit board there. And that just pops off quite easily. So that's popped off. Now, the only thing keeping this together now is that yellow wire. Now, you can't pull the unit out the other way until you cut this, and that's the scary bit. I don't like it. But anyway, here we go. The scary bit. Alright, she's done. It's cut. Now that's the headphone side connector, and one wire that I'm going to have to cut back a little bit now. And I left enough wire coming out of here, more so than this side here, that I can work with quite easily. And then I'll just use this connector to put those 2 wires back together again. Alright, so let me just fast forward and loosen this for you before I pull the whole unit out. How exciting. Okay, so I've had to turn all the knobs fully on and wobble that last one a little bit to dislodge all those little top modules from all of this. And then, nice and gently, out she comes, the inside of the Excalibur. Okay, just another pointer that is a must. Before you pull the unit out, you must have all the switches turned off to the left. And when you try and pull the unit out, sometimes you have to wiggle it to the left a little bit so it dislodges from all the connecting points underneath there. There's all your waterproof knobs that come through, and we're not taking them out. We don't have to go anywhere near those knobs, so leave them alone. And that's the unit body taken care of. We're back to the wires down the back here. Now what I dare say I'm going to have to do is actually cut the whole wires totally off there and drill all the way through it, because there's some sort of epoxy in there holding it. Nothing's easy, because this is waterproof to 200 feet, don't forget. So for it to be able to sustain that amount of water pressure, she is really sealed. So you can see that there, they're sealed, those two wires going through there. And this is another scary bit. Chopping that off, drilling through it, and restarting again. That's without bringing the soldering iron out yet to resolder all them. Now for the drilling, you're going to need a small pilot drill, and then a drill the same size as that hole. You don't want to make it any bigger at all. So make sure you got the right drill sizes for that. And let's get to the next section. Now also, when you pull it apart, you'll find these absorber packs. Now they ask you to replace them after you've pulled it apart, but I don't have a replacement one of these, so I'll just leave them in there. That's not where I'm working. So these absorb packs will absorb any sort of moisture that gets inside the machine, which hopefully nothing gets in there. So that's just another point taken. So having a look at this a little bit closer here on the circuit board, all those 4 wires from the coil just poke through the board and have just been butt soldered from the bottom there. So if I just get my soldering iron out and just touch the bottom of these solders, not for very long, just to heat it up a little bit, put a little bit of pressure on those wires, and they should just pop straight out, releasing all that section from the circuit board. Then we can go to this trying to get these cords out. So let me just get this soldering iron warmed up. So we'll start off with this blue one here. I've had to put it in a vise, plastic vise, to hold this. So my soldering iron just blew up, story of my life, and I was trying to melt those 2 down there. So I've just come to the conclusion here, I'll just cut all them off there. Now what I've done is I've sliced through the first one here. So just with your trusty blade, chomp through that. Scary stuff, guys. And that's it there. So now what we have to do is drill a pilot hole through there, because I don't want to cut into any of those edges there. And put a little pilot drill first with your drill, and then put the bigger one. But once I've done that pilot light one, I'll just check to see that this is the correct size to go through there. Once you've drilled that out, you can't go back. And that's where you can see where it's arrow dotted all the way in. So I'm going to get on to drilling this out, and I'll get back to you in a minute. Alright, so now we've put that end cover into a plastic vise, and I'm going to try and drill these wires out. Now I've got a pilot drill first, and try and drill inside that black sheath. Now that you've gone through there, you've got to try and clean that out a bit and see if you can even pull out all that wiry sort of stuff before you end up chipping into the nice manufactured hole there. You don't want to chip into that at all. So I'll clean that out a bit and I'll see how we go. Well, we've made a bit of a mess, and that little bit of sheath did pop out of here, and they drilled out quite nicely, and you can see at the bottom there I haven't gone all the way through. That's where you can poke the wires through again now, and once you poke the good wires through there again, then you've got to fill that back up with epoxy Arrow Dot to water seal it. Slowly we go. So come on, let's get to the next stage. Okay, now this is what I'm talking about. I sliced down along that sheath. Now look at all the cuts across there. It looks like someone's trying to slash himself majorly. But these are all the cracks that appear after you've been swinging that section. Geez, those wire sheaths there are nasty, aren't they? It seems to clear up after that, but that's pretty much a majority of where every time you moved it, it would turn on and off. That's nasty, isn't it? I think that's exactly what happened to Chris's. All these cracks inside all the wiring. So now I'm going to have to strip all that back there, get to the good wiring, and rewire it up again. So come on guys, let's keep going. Now with these cracked wires here that have been the initial problem, I've cut the sheath back all the way until it's clear of any cracks. So I've taken the sheath a fair way down to make sure there's a good 3-4 inches of clean wire, and then bang, just at the end here where dominantly was going into the unit, has just, after swinging it 5,000 times, has just put all these little cracks in there. So what I do now is we'll get our side cutters and we'll gather all that up just underneath where all the wires are crud, which is about there. And alright, so now we have clean wires, so we start off again. Now we have to put them through back here and epoxy all that back up again. So next step. Okay, another hiccup along the way here. I'm trying to feed the wires through, and the hole was just not sort of big enough to get these wires through. So I've had to drill a little bit more to open that hole up a little bit, but don't push the drill all the way through, because see how that goes in smaller just at the end there? That actually enables the end of this sheath to butt up with that hole. So I dare say you got to pull these out, put the arrow dot in, then push them back in so that the end of that black sheath butts up with the bottom of that hole there. Now it's going to take 24 hours for that to cure. So this is not an easy fix and will take another 24 hours. Okay, just another quick pointer guys. Before we start gluing all this in, epoxying it in, waterproofing it, have a look at your photographs and see how long these wires were. The last thing you want to do is epoxy these wires and sheath into this end cap, and they're too short and you've got to start all over again. So have a look at your pictures, have a look how long they're supposed to be, and that's round about it. These ones are just a tad longer, but like I said, we can chop them down, so that's alright. You can chop down, you can't put wire on there. So make sure they're at the right length. So go back to your picture, have a look how long they were when you first cut them, and put them back into place exactly the same. Alright guys, so we're ready to go. I've pulled them out so that the sheath is just hanging out and you can see the wires a bit. Now what I'm going to do is inject a bit of epoxy just at the end here, and then when I pull those wires through, it's going to bring it through with it. So I'll put a dab in there, a dab in there. Now push that all the way through, butt it in, push that all the way through, butt that in, and I'll put a little bit more in there and I'll just feed that in with a screwdriver or my finger or something. Try and keep it as clean and as neat as possible. So let's just drop a bit here. Oh, I'm getting glue all over myself here. I've got a few holes in this, and it's getting a bit messy. Right, so we got the epoxy all flooded in there, and all on the outside into there. Now when that dries a little bit, and I clean it up a little bit, I'll just make sure that it has gone into all those holes. So just let that tack up a little bit, and we'll get back to it and see how much epoxy I've got in those holes there. Nice one. Getting closer. Okay, so we've been putting epoxy in here, and I let it dry for 24 hours. And I had a little bit of a look there, and there was a little bit of a gap between the wires. So what I've just done now is made sure the epoxy has gone in any little air holes or any holes there. So it's 100% waterproof. So that's pretty much the cap done now, so I have to wait another 24 hours for that to dry. Unlucky. Okay, so my soldering iron blew up. I've got a new one. Now, to save time, to keep things going, I just cut them all. Now, I still have to get the soldering iron at the back there and heat up the solder and pop them out. So let's do that now. Simple as that, guys. Just grab the wire, touch it for a few seconds. Alrighty. We've taken all them out now. Simple as that. So let's get going, guys. We'll keep going. Okay, we're back. We're back for the big soldering job. And if you're not a DIY guy, this will be about the scariest bit. The only bit of soldering I've done is back at technical school 20-30 years ago. And I've done the trick of taking photographs and writing down which wires go where. Very important as you're doing this. So that's all butted in and screwed back together again nicely. And those wires turn clockwise always, and have a bit of a routine at doing that. And all those little grub screws for when we put it back together again, and a bit of solder just in case I need solder to butt these wires back through. So while we've been waiting for all that to happen, bang, gold gem and treasure come out. Bingo. A beach awash with coins. There's me, there's my detectors, some of the treasure I found in the past, and another page there. Sonny and Lincoln made it into it. Geez, we've had some devastation on the coast, I'll tell you. We've had the whole coastline ripped. But that's cool. Made it to the paper again, or the magazine. Gold, gem and treasure. Awesome. So let's get back to fixing this Excalibur. So we're up to the white one now. Bit hard to try and bend all these things all at the same time. And then my hands are shaking. Yeah, not that easy, guys. Not that easy. Alright, that one's nicely done. Warm the wire up for a little bit before you add the solder, so it's got time to stick on there like that. That's coming out quite nice. So they've been soldered in nicely. Now we'll get to the blue and the brown one, so I'll flip this over now. We're almost here, we're almost done. No, they're pretty good soldered. They're probably a bit bodgy, but it doesn't matter. This is DIY and it's saved us $200, and hopefully we'll check all these wires to make sure that for some reason I didn't put them in the wrong spots. God only knows, stranger things have happened. So we're halfway there, guys. Get rid of the girly glasses, Jesus. I mean, I can see pretty good here, but with this soldering, if your eyes are a bit bodgy, Johnny Ray, I'd go the glasses. You have to. Everything's too small these days. All right, let's put it back together, or try to. Something's not letting it go all the way in, so... All right, that's what those little See, there's some slots in there. It looks like you've got to slot it into the board. Now I'm just wondering whether the other side's been done that. So what I'm going to do now is go check that the other side has gone into those little slidey bits. That could be the problem. So here we go again. Let's undo these plugs here. Now, I had a look on YouTube before I attempted this to have a look to see if anyone else has done this, and there was nothing on YouTube about it. So this could be a first on YouTube. DIY, fix the wiring, problem yourself. Yeah, this circuit board has to get wiggled back in now the other way. It's a bit of a difficult, this one here. I'm not too sure whether I should take this end cap off again to try and butt that in nicely, because you got to get them in perfectly on all these knobs too. I might have to let go. I've got this side in here. I might have to let this side go a little bit so I can try and butt that circuit board into those two grooves. Is that pushing all the way in? Yep. That's pushing that out now. Let's push that in. There we go. All right, yeah, so it does. So that eventually clipped into both them. Nice one. All right, so that's where it would have been handy on another video to know about those end slidey bits that are a little tad difficult to get in, as you've just seen. And that's gone in there nicely. So now if your wires crack and you lose your detector, you know, well, it's possible to get in there and fix it yourself. Now, if I ever do this again, well, I'll actually put in proper end pieces here so I can actually change coils. But I haven't really investigated which is the best coil so far to use. So we'll do that next time. Now, you don't want any of this having to get forced in, and that's not getting forced in, that's just pushing in nicely. Don't ever force anything. If it doesn't want to go, step it back and find out why. Now I've got to see if all these switches are all done up properly too. Grub screws in there. I'm not getting any clicks on any of these. You know what that means? Back to the drawing board, guys. Back to the drawing board. All right, so not as easy as what you think it is. Get this battery pack on and see if it's actually stuck on the on position or the off position. We should get sparks if it's on. Yep, it's on. Nice one. Oh, maybe the battery's dead. Oh, no. All right, back to the drawing boards. Let's pull it all apart again and I'll see what's going on. Okay, so what we've discovered is when we go to put it back together again, all those tops of those knobs there, see how they're going upright at the moment? Well, if you look inside this cylinder here, you can see way in there, the ends of the knobs have got like that straight edge as well. So all those knobs have to, you actually visually look all the way down there to see that they're all nice and straight. Now, when you slide it in right next to these pins, and as you go in, just before you get there, you slide it in and push it into those notches and it goes in nicely. Now, these little notches here line up with the circuit board. So there we go. Now I'll put it all back together again, and this last wire here was not really connecting. So I've just had to resolder that on top again. I know it looks like a bit of a dog's breakfast, but I've just plugged it all up then, turned it on, and so beautiful. She's quiet as, and movement here, it's not doing anything. So nice one. So now I have to put it back together again. All right, so I thought I had problems with the brown and the blue wire, which is the battery. Now, I plugged it all back together again. I had nothing, and I started wobbling the wires again. And of course, the battery wire was crudded. So I've had to strip the wire. Well, what I actually did was I ended up getting my charging pack, and I put the charging pack onto here, and it works straight away. So if that backup charging pack there, with just these two wires here, when I put them onto those two spots there, she works. So that is telling me this last little bit of battery cord right up until this piece here, she was no go. So I've had to unsolder it out of there, and it looks like I need a new section of that wire. So back to the drawing boards again, guys. It can turn into a nightmare, can't it? It certainly can, Ollie. So we probably would assume that we did have a problem to start off with the cord. And if you went to a professional, he would probably put some sort of multimeter on those wires and see if there's any bad connections in them. But I've been stung. It's the battery side as well that was crudded. And, well, we're going to have to buy some of this cord, about 12 inches of it, and reboot it back up to this. Reboot it back to this here, and start all over again, and then solder back into those two spots there. So what a nightmare, guys. Back to the drawing board yet again. Alright, I'll get back to you. Okay, so we're back now. I went and got the soldering iron that had blown up last week and cut the wire off that. Now there's 3 wires in there, so I've just left one in there hidden and just used the blue and the brown. Now this little jack here, which goes into the unit there, into the battery, there's 2 little Allen keys there. So I've put the 2 wires in there now, and now we've got to solder in those 2 holes there, and then that all butts up quite snugly. Now the sheath on the old one, let me just have a look here. The sheath on the old one looked like it was pressed in a little bit, so it's a lot smaller to be able to get that rubber grommet on there. So I've actually cut a little bit of that sheath out that you can't see underneath it, and taken about 3 mil out, so it does squash in a bit. So I'll solder in there, and I'll give you a look after I've done it, because my hands start to shake when I do it. So I'll get it over and done and dusted, and I'll let you have a look. Alright, it's a bit of a dog's breakfast again there, but it is soldered in there, and that is snug. So I'll try and put that little grommet back together again now, and we'll see how we go with that. So give me another 5 minutes. Now when you're screwing all this back together here, you've got to put it in a vise and turn that without this cord turning. So you've got to hold the cord, this piece here, and tighten that back up again. So I've done that now, and we're left with this, the end piece. So what I'm going to do now is put it onto the battery pack there and hook it up to just here to see that this wire's a gooder. Did anyone see that coming, that this wire was going to be rat-assed as well? Well, it doesn't matter, we got stung. If we had a multimeter, we could have tested for them. I've got a multimeter, but I don't know how to test wires. So sad, too bad. So anyway, let's keep going. Just holding my fingers on them. Nice one. All right, well that's just me holding it on those 2 spots there to the battery pack, and that wire's a gooder now. So now let's rewire this to the circuit board. Oh, what a mission, guys. I didn't know it was going to take this long and be this consuming. So just thinking about the quickest way to do this, what I'm going to do is solder that to the circuit board, and I'm going to do the araldite last. Okay, so we're finally back on track. We've got those two wires punched in there now, and that's the new cord, which I still have to epoxy on the inside there. So let's see if we can put this back in. Now, very important when you go to put it back together again, those little nods there have to be even a little bit better than that. They all have to be perfectly like that. Now, if you have a look inside the unit box, you can see way in there that there's that straight bit. Now, when you push the unit in, you got to push it to the left or the right of all of them, and just before you get to it, you got to straighten it up and push them into those little bits. It's not easy, and it took me a while before, but I've done it 4 times now, so I'm getting used to it. Damn getting used to it. Let's get this finished up, guys. Let's do it. Well, guys, I've just fed it back into the unit box, which, mind you, took about 20 minutes to try and feed it into all those little knobs and notches, and finally got it in. And oh, that sounds awesome. I fixed it. I fixed it. Would you believe it? I have fixed it. Turn this off, you idiot. Woohoo! I did it. So I didn't think I could do it, but I persisted. It's taken 3 days, it's taken ages, and well, where I thought it was just a coil wire, it turned out to be the battery wire as well too. So, awesome, it's done. So it's possible. If you want to pull your Excalibur apart and change some wires, I'm pretty crappy at soldering, but it did the job and it's all staying together, and mate, winner, come in, Johnny Ray Spinner. It's done. Awesome. That's a relief off my mind now. I thought I was going to have to send that away for ages, but I'm not. So that tops off a great day. I've been in the Gold, Gem and Treasure, G&T Treasure magazine today, and that was awesome too. So it's been a great day. So guys, thanks for watching, and yeah, you got problems with the Excalibur? Just pull it apart and have a look-see. Awesome. Thanks for watching, guys. Job's done, nutsack. Job's done. Nice one, guys. I've just come for a little test. I've walked about, 800 metres from my house, and hasn't made a sound. I've pulled out a sinker at like 12 inches and this little button at about 6 inches. So 2 nice big hits, and I'll tell you what, it sounds like it's got its balls back again. So I think that wiring's been letting me down for a while. So this could be an awesome little walk to Edelong and back. So she's working. I've fixed it. Thank Christ for that. Awesome.